have the steering wheel off, I'm going to take a look at, well, this piece, obviously, that's not going to be serviceable. So we've got one of these, and we're going to replace the wiper switch. Some folks use this for the overdrive as well. But we're going to take a look at this turn signal switch. It's a little, I don't know if you can see here, it's a little bit wonky. It's a little wonky. I mean, it still functions. Everything does what it's supposed to do. There's a little blinker for the headlights. But I'm going to take all this apart. We're going to go through how to take it off. And so that way, if you're thinking about upgrading or renewing your switches, you can follow through with me and see how this thing comes apart. This is a 1977 MGB, and we are going to take apart the wiper switch and the turn signal switch. So let's get started. All right, so to get this this plate off of the car, there's a screw right here and a screw right here. Those will allow you to move this plate and separate it from, this is normally right here, it'll allow you to slide it up off the steering column. It comes up real easy. This these two little pieces right in here, they will connect inside this little thing here. So you just have to be careful when you're moving it. If you don't intend on pulling the whole thing off, just be careful when you open this plate to take this plate off. This whole mechanism has a couple of springs in there. So if you don't intend on taking that whole thing apart, just be very cautious and make sure that you don't bump this lever or anything like that, and then you'll be able to take this off. The next thing that you'll notice on here is the difference between the replacement and the original is that the original was riveted in. So the very next thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to drill these holes off to get the rivets off. That'll allow you to pull this piece off right here. And then if you're done, you just slap it on and off you go. But we're going to go ahead and go through all the mechanism of the turn signal switch so that we can see if we can tighten that up a little bit, find out why it's loose, and just kind of go through it and so you can see how that works. So let's go ahead and drill these holes. Just one quick note, once you get these drilled out, the rivets on the old one, they go all the way through, but halfway through they also hold on to this little back plate. This is kind of a, I don't know, kind of electrical plate kind of thing. It's a piece of it's like a circuit board material with no circuit board on it. But in the old version, the little connector pieces for the little brass knobbies are connected into here, and that's how they're held firm. On the new version, they kind of do away with this. The replacement has a solid back plate that those little connectors are now they're not a whole round piece. They're a half round piece with a plastic core. So you don't have to salvage this. You don't have to salvage this piece. It's not salvageable anyway because the rivets kind of tear it up. But just so you can see, it's a little difference in the way that the structure is made to make it just a little bit more resilient, I think. It could be a manufacturing process as well. But in any event, you have to take off these are 1/4 inch machine screws. You see I'm using a 1/4 inch, there it is, 1/4. The 1/4 inch adapter here. And so we'll go ahead and tighten these babies in place. They go right in like that. There you go. All right, there we go, all installed. It's nice and snug. The action on this is very tight. So I'm very happy with the way that installation went. Incredibly easy. It's just take it off, take off the old one, put the new one on. When you get to routing these wires, you know, once we get it onto the steering wheel, I'll go over how to route this stuff on there. But you know, it has a little cord on here. You just want to make sure that nothing's going to get involved. So you may have to put a little zip tie or some kind of wire wrap on there. But we'll get to that once we get to the installation back onto the steering column. All right, so let's have a look at that turn signal switch. Okay, so on an inspection of this this component, this is the windshield wiper arm over here. I found that it was kind of wonky, and you know, just didn't feel firm. And the reason why is this centerpiece, which kind of floats in here, right? It's missing some of these little nylon nubbies that are spring-loaded. It's missing one on this side altogether, so there's parts missing out of here. Aside from that, a lot of these other nylon components are really worn down quite a bit. Although there's a lot of goopy grease in here, it just wasn't enough to make it last. So let's just go over the design here. The design of this, it's kind of an interesting design. So there's this little ball that goes kind of in here against this little plastic. It's a plastic spring, and that is captured by this little nylon hook here. That when you have this thing in place, here, let me grab it here. Well, I got that backwards. Yeah, here we go. It goes like this. Okay, so when that's in there like that, this is the high beam flasher. You can see exposed are the contacts for the high beams, and when you push it down, one of them is relieved and the other one opens up. Anyway, here we go. Now you can see the action. So one closes, the other one opens. I think this was probably likely worn. You can see there's a crack in the plastic right here. The other thing is there's a wire missing altogether here, and you can see somebody has disabled the horn. So it seems as though perhaps the horn was stuck. So that, you know, in short, this is not serviceable, so we're going to replace this. The other thing that kind of, I mean, I normally would try to fix all this, but this nylon hub here has been melted and degraded. It's not something I would want to 3D print. It's a little complicated, and it's got to fit just right. And it's made of nylon. So, yep, this has got to go. This is out the window with the beans. Here's one of these little nylon nubs. You can see how that's really worn down, which is more likely the reason why it was wonky. It was just all these old springs and nylon pieces had expired. So anyway, let's get a new one. Huzzah! Here's the new one, and you can see here's those little connectors back here. See how they're a little nicer, a little beefier? And it goes from on to off. It's very clean. And it clicks, and it's not wonky. So that's good. Turn the turn signals up and down, you can feel them click. So nothing like new to make you feel better. So anyway, we're going to take off these components that we put on the old plate and put them onto this plate. And here's the nylon piece. You can see how the old one was all bent and looked like it melted or something. Yeah, that's the centerpiece that the steering wheel turns, that will turn the turn signal on and off once you complete your turn. So that's what this does. It's a mechanical thing. So let's go ahead and take this new switch off of the old plate and put it on the new plate, and then we can get into working on the car again. Well, there you have it, all installed. Switches are switching, nice even movement. Got the little push button over here. This whole apparatus goes over the top of a shaft right here, and it's tightened by one screw right in here. The only thing I have left to do here is some wire management, little electrical tape around the shaft here to manage where all these wires are going to route, to make sure nothing gets pinched when the final install of the cowlings. These are the cowlings that cover that up. Now the cowlings, you'll see, they kind of interact with this down here, and you really can't put them over the top of the controls and still get them up underneath there without either moving the dashboard up or pulling the steering column down, which is what I'm going to do. You can see inside here there's a series of bolts right here. There's one on either side of here, and there's one a little bit further back here, the same size. They unscrew very easily, and then this whole shaft will come down. It'll give you real easy access to put those cowlings on, and you know, Bob's your uncle. It's pretty easy stuff to do. One thing you'll notice I've done on here, I've added a crimp-on splice with this little blue wire onto the smaller of the purple wires, which is the horn button. You can see the horn button on here on the 77 MG. The horn is on this turn signal. It says right here, horn in. So what I've done here is I've added this wire because we're putting a wood steering wheel in here with the 9 screw hub, and this does have a switch for a horn in it. So the blue wire is going to come over the top here, and it will go out of this little hole on the top right here. And we're going to run a spool of wire. Basically what you do is you turn the wheels all one direction, and you spool the wire up so that when you turn it the other direction, it will you know, unspool, and it'll never go any further. It's a little bit of a mechanical twist on the what you normally see with a steering wheel, where it has like a disc, and then there's like a little copper piece that slides on that disc, so when you turn the wheel it has contact while you're doing it. Those wear out, and in this case MG didn't even try to put any kind of a disc in there. The only horn is right inside here, so you have to wire that. So you can see this is the smaller of the purple wires, not the big one, but the 18 gauge wire here, and I just put another 18 gauge wire on here, and you can see all the purple wires, incidentally, are typically hot, even with the ignition out. See, I don't have the key in, but just to prove it here, that purple wire with this little blue splice, if I touch this to ground, which is this steering shaft, you'll get the horn to honk as well. And that's what the hub does. It has a connection that is intended to ground out on this steering shaft with the horn switch. So that'll be a whole nother video. I'll go over how to rig this up for the switch when we install the steering wheel. That'll be a whole nother video on that. But that is, in summary, how to replace the switches on the steering column of a 1977 MGB. We went over the wiper switch, which in our case was broken at the shaft right here, and we reviewed if it was possible to revitalize the feel of the turn signal switch, and it turned out that it wasn't. But I'm really happy with, you know, having a new one. It's a really nice feel on there. So there you go. When you see this next, we'll be working on the steering wheel, and all the cowling and everything will be on there. So check back when I do the steering wheel install, and we'll go over how to hook up that horn. Cheers!